Apple's 2020 iPad Pro is now available, and while there aren't very many differences compared to last year's model, the latest software updates actually make it a better choice than before compared to the 2019 iPad Air. The major deciding factor is that the Air costs $500 compared to $800 for the iPad Pro. So in this video, we're going to be comparing everything about them to see if spending that extra $300 is worth it. And if you're considering one of the other iPads like the regular iPad or the iPad mini, subscribe right now because we'll be doing a video soon comparing all 4 of the current iPads. For starters, the new 2020 iPad Pro comes with 128GB of storage compared to 64 on the Air. And if you're planning on buying a 256GB model, there's now only a $250 difference between the two, so keep that in mind as we compare them. One of the major benefits of the iPad Pro is the updated design. From the square edges to the rounded display corners and the even bezels all around, the iPad Pro simply looks much more modern than the iPad Air. And while some people still like the Touch ID home button on the Air, the switch over to Face ID on the Pro is a huge deal. It just works so well, even unlocking while upside down. Because of the home button on the Air, you have to deal with the large bezels on both the top and the bottom of the iPad. However, it does still pack a headphone jack, which you don't get on the Pro. For some people, that's a big deal, but for me, it's not because I have my AirPods if anything. Another big difference is that the speakers are much better on the iPad Pro, with 4 speakers, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, so you get stereo sound while in landscape mode, which is great for gaming. The Air only has 2 on the bottom, so in landscape mode, all of the sound comes from just the right side. Here's a speaker comparison so you can hear the differences between the two. Yep, the speakers are many times better on the Pro. Now the display tech is extremely similar. There are literally only 2 differences. The Pro is brighter and it gets ProMotion technology. Testing the brightness, you can see the difference, but does it actually matter much in the real world? Honestly, not that much. Now ProMotion on the other hand is huge in my book. It allows the screen to refresh at up to 120Hz for buttery smooth navigation, and you truly can feel the difference. Now what people don't mention about ProMotion is that it automatically brings down the refresh rate to match the content you're viewing to help save battery life. So let's say you're watching a video that's shot at 24 FPS like this one. The Pro will run at 24Hz while the Air runs at 60Hz. Wasting battery life without giving any visible benefit at all. Another benefit of ProMotion is reduced Apple Pencil lag, and as you can see in the slow-mo clip, drawing on the Pro is almost instant, and it's a difference you can feel. Speaking of the pencil, the Pro supports the new one, which is better in basically every way, especially in the way it magnetically connects to the side, instantly pairs, and wirelessly charges. The matte design feels better in the hand, and it's got a new double tap to switch tools feature, which is incredibly useful. Now before we get into the performance comparison, let's compare something that not everyone will care about: the cameras. The 2020 Pro gets an all-new camera bump, which I think looks so much better design-wise compared to the tiny little camera on the Air. The Pro actually gets 2 cameras, the main 12-megapixel shooter and a 10-megapixel ultra-wide camera. And that big gray circle on the side is the LiDAR scanner, which I'll get into in a moment. The Air simply has an 8-megapixel main camera, so here are some photos comparing them. And as you can see, the Pro gives you much better photos, especially in detail and dynamic range. And of course, the new ultra-wide camera gives you a really cool perspective that you simply can't get on the iPad Air. And the best part of all is that you can shoot 4K 60fps video with either of the Pro's cameras, compared to only 1080p 30fps video with the Air. Now for the front-facing selfie cam, they're both 7 megapixels, but since the iPad Pro has Face ID, you also get portrait mode, so the selfies look much more appealing. Apple also updated the microphones on the 2020 Pro, so here's a comparison between the two. This is a microphone quality test on the 2019 iPad Air. This is a microphone quality test on the 2020 iPad Pro. Now moving on to the new LiDAR scanner on the Pro, it basically improves depth sensing and tracking and works similarly to how Face ID does. Here's a clip from iPhondo showing the LiDAR scanner in action. It projects a ton of dots and then scans them to detect depth. We tested out an augmented reality app on both of these iPads, and you can clearly see that the iPad Pro is giving us much more accurate depth and distance tracking compared to the Air, which doesn't have the LiDAR scanner. Now, this feature isn't a very big deal right now, but if you're planning on keeping your iPad for a couple of years, keep this in mind since augmented reality apps could become extremely popular. A huge plus for the iPad Pro is that it's the only iPad that features Wi-Fi 6 compared to slower Wi-Fi 5 on the Air. Now getting into performance, the Pro gets the new A12Z chip, which has a slight improvement over the A12X, while the Air gets the regular A12 chip. One major difference is that the Pro now gets 6GB of RAM compared to only 3 on the Air, so multitasking and using productivity apps is going to be better on the Pro. In Geekbench 5, the Pro scored a much higher score in terms of multi-core performance. And in the Metal Graphics test, the Pro scored over twice as high as the Air, which is useful for things like gaming, rendering, and augmented reality. The more realistic Antutu test also shows us a pretty good improvement for the Pro, especially in terms of the RAM performance. The great thing about being in 2020 is that a lot of apps have been optimized to take advantage of the iPad Pro's performance. For example, you can now play Fortnite at 120 FPS on the iPad Pro, compared to only 60 FPS on the Air. And there are a whole lot more games that support 120 FPS, so gamers should definitely go for the Pro. And even in basic navigation, the Pro is going to feel more snappy because of the combination of extra performance, double the RAM, and the 120Hz refresh rate display that makes everything feel super smooth, especially using the Apple Pencil. And the quad speaker setup is also a difference you'll feel every day, maybe even more so than ProMotion. Now, does this mean that the iPad Air is bad or that it's slow? Absolutely not. It's still one of the best tablets out there and it easily beats a lot of Android tablets, but the Pro is just a big step above. One huge benefit for the iPad Pro is that it's the only iPad that supports Apple's upcoming Magic Keyboard case, which is going to be released in May, and it's extremely unique since it makes the iPad float, it packs the awesome new Magic Keys directly from the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and it also features a trackpad. This is going to be great to use with iPadOS 13.4's new cursor support, which basically allows the iPad to finally be a laptop replacement. Now, if you're interested in how to use cursor support, check out that video after this one's over. Now, a big plus for the new Air is that there are going to be keyboard cases with trackpads coming soon, like the Logitech Combo Touch, which is already on Apple's website. And yes, it also features a trackpad. And it's only $150 compared to the Apple Magic Keyboard case, which is $300. But the Magic Keyboard case has one more huge advantage: pass-through charging. This means that you can charge your iPad through the USB-C port on the keyboard case itself, which leaves the original USB-C port free to use for things like transferring files or connecting to a display. The iPad Air gets a Lightning port that can't do that, and it doesn't supply as much power, so it's not as easy to transfer files from a variety of devices. And honestly, I think the Magic Keyboard case will be a huge hit, even at the $300 price, because of the brand new floating iPad design. So with all of that said and compared, which iPad is the better value? Well, it really depends on what you want to do with it. If you just want an iPad for regular tasks like browsing the web, using common apps, and streaming Netflix, then the iPad Air is one of the best tablets you can buy. But if you want to play games, the Pro is a much better option. If you want great multitasking performance, or you want to do some video or photo editing, get the Pro. If you want the best Apple Pencil experience and performance, get the Pro. If you want the snappiest and most fluid display, the Pro gets a 120Hz display. If you really care about how the speakers sound, then definitely get the Pro. If you'd like to transfer and store files on the iPad, the Pro will be much more convenient. And if you want to use the best keyboard case ever made, then you have to get the Pro. But if all of those things aren't that big of a deal to you, and you'd much rather save your cash, then I'm sure you'll be very satisfied with the iPad Air, since it packs enough performance to take care of most of the common tasks that people need it to do. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this comparison video. Make sure to tap the like button and click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.